Most keep staring at it.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Order. The city council regular meeting of Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. We have roll call, please.
Councilmember Sanchez. Present. Vice Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Mayor Farr.
Here.
Councilmember Calderon.
Yeah.
Here.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
You have pledge of allegiance. Salute, pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No proclamations or introduction to new promoted employees. We will move to community participation forum. Members of the public may address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. The city council may not discuss nor take action on any community participation item brought forward by a member of the community. Comments are requested to be limited to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we're going to table consent agenda. The wording was needed to be adjusted. So do that on that meeting. Now we'll move to items of consideration. Item number 2, labor negotiation appointment, designated labor negotiator. The council is asked to appoint a designated agent for labor negotiations to the city of convenience, efficiency. It is recommended that the deputy city attorney Landon Little serve in this role.
Mr. Mayor, the recommendation is just based on the code contemplating the appointment of a designated agent that represents the council in labor negotiations. That's typically Elisa. But for this session tonight, obviously the city administrator is the subject of the negotiation. So it's often been the case that the city attorney serves to assist the council in that negotiation. And will obviously I'll be present in closed session. So
Do I hear a motion? Anybody else?
I'll make the motion. Actually,
Public comment first? Yeah. Well, first, we have to go to public comment.
Any comment from the public? Seeing no public, now we will move.
I'll motion that we approve our city attorney Landon Little for designated labor negotiations with the city administrator.
Motion and second, a roll call, please.
Councilmember Calderon.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Mayor Farr.
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez. Yes.
Now move to item number 3, approval of recreation management manager job description and salary.
Mayor and Council, before you, we are presenting and recommending the adoption of the recreation manager job description associated with the salary range of $4,301 to $57.64 per month, with placement steps 1 through 7 in the salary range, and authorize staff to proceed with the recruitment. Currently, we do have a rec coordinator and we have an interim recreation director that is assisting the coordinator with recreation programs. There's also facility rentals and community events for residents. They also have an expanded scope and complexity. The new job description enables for more oversight over the recreation coordinator and other staff. This would allow for a managerial oversight of that department to include new programs, budget preparation of the budget, also grants, going after grants, looking and working with the Public Works Department on, the inspections of all of the parks. And then also any repairs that need to be done to the facilities, oversight of the soccer complex, programs that are going out there and any future programs or recreation facilities, as well as looking into additional soccer fields, practice sites, coordinating practices, all the events with the assistance of a coordinator, but the manager would have the complete oversight as far as leading that department. So before you, we used to have what was called a recreation coordinator and a director. The director, if you recall, was resigned, and then we failed to fill the position. We have been with a coordinator for a while. And again, as we are trying to be more progressive and providing more services, and also with the new soccer complex that's coming in, that's going to require more management for that use of that facility, it would be appropriate now to have somebody that strictly works on grants that are for your park and rec, and also any oversight over the playground equipment and all of the parks centers, working alongside Public Works staffing. We have prepared the position, and again, it's to provide the leadership and the coordination of the city recreation programs, the facilities, community events. They will report directly to the city administrator. They will be responsible for the planning and the evaluation of staff, staff supervision, the budget, grant administration, and also community engagement. They will be classified as mid-management position and will be overseeing all other positions within the department. This will also alleviate our current finance director that has been taking the leadership role in that department for a few months now. The fiscal impact, to review that, the 25-26 recreation budget includes sufficient funding to support one full-time position and a limited part-time staffing. Implementation of the recreation manager position may require some adjustments to existing staffing levels and potential reorganization of departmental resources to allow for it to stay within adopted budget. I will also add, we have been working with California Consulting to go after some parks grants. There's a lot of grants out there for park and recreation, so we need somebody that'll take the leadership on making sure that we have these areas covered as far as having shovel-ready projects that will help the city be more successful. There will potentially be if we see an issue with funding sources or within the general fund, if we have issues, and our finance director will be making recommendations as far as staffing levels, if there needs to be some additional fiscal sustainability on the general fund. There could potentially be some reduction of hours for some current recreation staff there. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. We have also attached the recreation manager job description. We will no longer have the recreation director, but it will be the recreation manager that will be the position that will be overseeing that department.
Did I hear you right when you said that there's going to be a manager and a coordinator?
There's still going to be the coordinator, so we would keep that position. So historically, the city had a recreation director that handled all of the programs, the oversight of staff. They coordinated all of the new programs, and they directed the recreation coordinator. The recreation coordinator assisted the recreation director. When Melanie Montero stepped down, they filled it with a recreation coordinator. They kept the coordinator and they never filled that position. But that's a key position for you to have, because if you're anticipating more programs and more leadership and more oversight within that department, they would also oversee any complaints and issues with the public. So if there is an issue with the public or a complaint, that would go directly to the manager, who would then take care of those complaints and respond.
Well, you know, for the last 30 years, I've known only coordinators managing the rec department. And some of them did a really good job. And bringing a manager, and I agree that it could move, but it has to have a vision. We have to have a vision for that. Otherwise, we're doubling or paying, having a coordinator and a manager without a clear vision as to where we want to go. Exactly what kind of programs we're gonna establish. I would like to see something like that before I approve a new manager.
If you look at the coordinator position versus the director or a manager, they don't have the oversight that a director or a manager would have. So this is a missing, you would be asking a coordinator to step in the role of a director, and that's not part of their job description. This would align more with providing the leadership for the department. So if you want to have vision, and if you want to go after grants, and you want to have somebody run that department, bringing it into another level with budgetary responsibilities and coming up with new funding sources, it needs to be somebody with a caveat that they can do that.
Yeah, for the longest, I remember, I was a coach for soccer for about 12 years. Parents and kids always requested some kind of a visiting team, joining a league like Chico United, and it never happened. Now, if a new manager comes on board with management skills, that would be something that should be established ASAP, not only for males, but also for females and different age groups. This is an area that actually is really needed in Greeley, because some of our kids are going to Chico. They travel all the way to Chico just for practice, and then games outside, even outside of the state. So it's a very important concept for our city, and I would really like to know if there's any plan to establish that, and if that would be part of the training goals of a new manager.
I think the new manager is going to come with a set of goals that they need to bring in, new and more all-inclusive sports, because right now you don't have adult leagues. You don't have a lot of what we've been talking about for the last several years. I mean, it's just, we've been keeping up with what we currently have, but we haven't brought in a lot of new leagues or sports. I know that with Melanie, if you recall, she was not a coordinator, she was a director.
Yeah.
So you saw the difference between the coordinating of these. Coordinating is more of, this is the program here, coordinator, make sure you check all the boxes and you coordinate this, get the teams going, the manager is the lead. They are taking the lead role on ensuring that all of the staff below them is managing the programs. There's accountability for when they're not being done. And then also if there's problems or complaints, troubleshooting and being the face of the department, they are out there, not just at a field. They are meeting with groups, they are meeting with other agencies, they are establishing new programs. And that's
also, Elisa, most important is to have somebody who really knows basketball, soccer, and I think wrestling is,
we had wrestling at one time.
So.
Yes, we did.
Because, some of the managers or coordinators that came after Melanie have no idea what soccer is all about, and there is no teaching component into the new I would say seasons.
We also need to, if I may remind council, we've talked in the past about having a park master plan. And we've talked about establishing and improving the parks, resurfacing of the parks. That requires grants, and this person would be responsible to make sure that they are looking and working with agencies to maybe bring in sponsorships, bring in more programs, go after grants and coordinating and bringing more events to the city. So I'm hopeful that with this position in place, we are going back to the days of when Melanie Montero was here. We did have that position. It's very important. This is what you're providing to the citizens, and I think having that level of leadership is important. I mean, Martine's doing a great job right now with filling in as an interim for a director, but if you really want to be progressive and going after grants and improving your recreation department, then I think a manager, not a director at the level of directors, but a manager. Other cities have park and rec directors, and they have public works staff under them. Right now, all of the staff that works at the parks doing the maintenance is under Jerry. In this case, they would still be working under Jerry, but that rec and park manager would have to ensure that all of the equipment and everything is being replaced and working alongside with that department as well.
It says, in the education experience, what we're looking for somebody that's got a bachelor's degree from the Federal College, we got to receive major coursework in recreation administration, public administration, business related field, minimum 3 years of progressive responsible experience in recreation or community service, including supervisor or lead responsibility. So this person would take it over. I mean, they would, to me, they were looking for somebody that's highly educated in that field with experience.
Right.
I would just like to comment that I am supportive of this update and obviously the much needed position for the city. And as our city administrator said, we need someone to come in and really lead the recreation department and staff. I think my only suggestion for next time would be, and I've noticed this with a couple of other job descriptions for other positions with the city over the last year or so. A lot of the descriptions seem more general versus personalized to the city of Gridley. So for example, for recreation manager, we should have possibly mention a section that says City of Gridley programs, including but not limited to the soccer program, basketball program. Just so that when they're applying and reading this, that we're already setting that expectation for them to know what they're signing up for. So that there are no surprises, right? So that when they go through the interview process and ultimately if they accept the role, that it's very clear the magnitude and the importance of the role that they're accepting. And to at least have those mentioned in the job description, I think would be helpful. I think I had shared with our HR manager a copy, I think Santa Clara or there was a city that I came across their recreation manager job description, and it was a little bit more like that. Just like, hey, this is what you're actually be doing. Here's some examples. Thank you.
If I also want to add, we did put in the employment standards. We put in understands principles, practices, fundamentals of the recreation programs, major sports, games, and other recreational activities suitable for all ages. So we talked about in their knowledge of having knowledge of the fundamentals of those sports.
One suggestion on the certification. Any manager should be certified on the programs we have established. So they know exactly what to look for and what to promote in soccer, basketball, wrestling. This is an important part. I know they need driver's license and the CPR training. And but they need additional certification in my opinion. So I would like you to consider that as an addition to the certification request.
Are there certifications that?
Well, we have here, the preferred bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university with major coursework in recreation administration, public administration, so it's in recreation. But I think you're talking more of certificate with, a certificate for sports.
Well, knowledge.
Yeah, that,
Because a manager who doesn't understand
right.
the sports that gets loaded in the city may not know exactly what to promote, what to envision. The whole idea is actually to develop a culture of learning when they start 5 years old. We had 500 kids playing last year. So we have these new developments, the number is going to increase seriously.
They are.
So we really need to manage this. And I agree with that management. They have to have a pretty good and clear vision of what our town needs.
And I think they, going back to your certification, they have to, that's why it's in employment standards, they have to have a knowledge of all the sports.
Knowledge.
And that's listed in the job description.
I haven't coached certifications, but they don't need that. They don't need management skills in these areas.
Thanks. So my question would be, this job description, considered a manager, would that manager be a department head? Or would they be working?
They're a manager, they're under me.
Okay. I was gonna say, if they were under the council, then we would have the ideas and we could.
I think you still have the
Okay.
ideas.
But what I'm saying, you know what I was getting at.
Because they will be reporting to you, just like all other department heads, and we have even a mid-management in here that reports to you on what they're working on. So I would expect no different from a recreation manager coming in and letting you know what grants they're looking at, what areas we can improve on, how they're reaching out to the other agencies and what their progress has become, and we have that expectation of you're gonna make some changes. It's not gonna keep afloat what we currently have. We want to see some improvements. And because the city is growing, we're getting ready to do the sports complex. There's a grant that we would like to have for a potential community center. Go after grant funding for that. So we need somebody that's gonna be eager to roll up their sleeves and go after grants. And also work on our parks master plan.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on council? Open up to the public. I don't see any public here. Do we have any online?
They're not allowed to speak on.
Online. So I will look around.
I'll motion to, approve and adopt the recreation ability job description and associate salary range of 4301 to 5764 per month. The placement within steps 1 through 7 of the salary range, and authorize staff to proceed to the recruitment.
Second.
Okay.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Mayor Parr.
Yeah.
Everybody see what to say.
Move to item number 4. The sports complex PH amendment number 4 for additional geotechnical study with unsuitable site conditions.
Mr. Mayor, we have our city engineer representative here. And he will be reviewing the update on this project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So before you, you have another amendment for these unsuitable conditions. So the geotech did go out. They were able to do some borings. The deepest one I think was down to like 71 feet. All but one of the holes. And they did vary quite a bit, so it was a good thing we did 7 of them. All but one show signs of liquefaction at varying depths. What has come back is that the soil doesn't fall into any of the standard categories to be able to do structural design on. So the structural engineer is requesting this special study of the residence time, what happens in an earthquake with these poles, because of the structure of the pole having some flexibility to it. If we get an earthquake, it's moving at a certain resonance frequency, and the soil has its own resonance frequency with that. There's potential for additional settling. And so for this design, they need this additional study. So our subconsultant Crawford has reached out to a PhD that specializes in this and has brought back this cost that, again, was at the request of the light manufacturer's structural engineer for us to be able to come up with a suitable base design. I included the preliminary report from the geotech. It's a lot of information that even as an engineer is hard to comprehend when they're talking about specific gravities and, you know, all these different aspects of soil and earthquakes and structures and all that. But I thought it was at least worth sharing with you guys so that you could see some of the variations in the holes, the borings. I think it's, well, on page, I don't know what page it is for you guys, but there's a page with table 7 on it. It talks about the liquefaction analysis. And it's like the 3rd column over, and it shows that we hit different layers at different varying depths for those layers where that clean sand is lying and giving us the problems. So probably more information than you need for what you have before you tonight, but really we're for the additional $20,900 to do the study. And that's just a pass-through cost from us. Again, as your city engineer, there's no markup on it or anything. We're just trying to get the study done so we can get this thing. So.
No, I have a question. So 2 things. So the last company we had drill, they did not test for frequencies.
They have them in here, but it's not this specialized frequency study that this guy does. So what we got back was that because the resonant frequency of the light hole is greater than 0.5 seconds, it doesn't fall in this exemption under this class F soil, which is what we have out there. And I don't know.
What falls under that? Is it 0.10 seconds or is it less or?
I don't know, but ours was like 2.75 seconds was the frequency of the poles. So that's when they were like, it doesn't meet the exemption, which is what requires the extra study per the building code.
So with the extra study, I'm assuming they're gonna take these evaluations and then they're just gonna study that from what they got from the soils. Is that?
I
Gonna do calculations, or I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what are we gonna be doing for $20,000?
Honestly, it's some PhD that this is what they focus on. So me trying to take my bachelor's of science degree in engineering and understanding what a PhD is doing with, you know, frequencies of you know, the soil and the structure, that's a little of my.
So ultimately, when they come up with what the frequencies can handle, or what the pole or what the soil can handle, do we know what type of structure? I'm assuming at this point, we were gonna just put poles in the ground and, you know, drive them in the ground and make something beautiful around them or whatever, instead of putting a big concrete slab to support that pole in an earthquake or whatever. So with that study being done, what are the options of when the study's finished? We cannot do it, or is there going to be, I guess what I'm getting at for $20,000, what are they gonna tell us, the same thing we already know, or?
So based on what I've read in the report and with some assumptions is, so right now we have the design is a 42-inch diameter hole that goes down to some depth in here. It looks, most of them look like they're about 30 feet, 37 feet. So what they're gonna tell us is, does that hole need to be wider? Does it need to be deeper? They're looking at the friction of the, whatever the concrete is with the soil. So they're looking at that friction. And then they're looking at what they call the tip of it and what kind of friction that is providing. So as the ground starts shaking, that liquefaction lessens that friction around that column that's down there. So again, with some assumptions, they're analyzing that. Do we need more surface area around the concrete to get more friction in the case of, you know, this earthquake with these residents?
That's fair enough. So basically, we're looking at how much more concrete we need to put in the hole. Okay. All right. And if they do a study like this, or they do this research and do their calculations, let's just say something does happen and we do put more concrete in and something that falls, are they liable for that, or?
I mean, they would be named in a suit. I'm sure there's some indemnifications in their contracts, but you know, if something happens, we're all named in the suit at that point.
No, it makes sense that more concrete.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Would it be possible that they'll make recommendations on different lighting because
I don't know.
Is that an option?
I don't know if we're there yet. We have reduced, I think our original design had 10 lights and this design has 7. So we've already reduced the number of poles that we're gonna go on the ground. That's what the contractor brought, so different from what we had in design. So they had a different lighting company provide a light design with a different arrangement. But yeah, I don't have an answer for
Okay.
what that looks like.
So if we have one pole that can go,
That's what it looks like based on this preliminary.
okay,
Yeah,
out of sense. So
Really bright lights on it.
yeah.
one side.
Yeah.
Please. Forget about the shadows.
But I mean, we're dealing with 6. And they're different. Okay. So I just want to know what the plan was. What are they looking for? Basically, it's how much more concrete we need.
That's my understanding of,
Okay.
and then from there, the contractor, well, the structural engineer can come up with the design. And then the contractor can give us a quote on what that extra
Okay.
concrete and rebar and.
I just don't want to go down this trail where we spend all this money and then we said, well, we just can't have lights. So, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have already engaged, it's only been a couple of days, the state park that is giving us the grant to let them know that we're running into all these unforeseen situations and figuring out the solution. Right now, they've only come back and said, well, we can look at removing the lights from the grant as part of the scope of the project, but that doesn't solve the problem of not having lights out there.
Well, and another concern is too, there's a time frame. I'm sure we have to have this completed to receive grant money, so we need to make sure that if we can in writing.
Yeah.
Because of these issues and problems, that they can extend that out.
Yeah, and we're in June of, I believe it was June of 2028, so we still have some time. I mean, we're, 2 years from that, so the contractor would love to get this, I mean, we'd all love.
Sure, we don't want to do that, sure.
Buttoned up, Wilson, so, yeah, so anyway, we've started those conversations, at least let them know that, we are over budget, what we anticipated and running into, more change orders coming because of this soil, and so.
I would hate to see us buy a bunch of drones that were hanging out during.
I know, right?
Lights. Yeah, exactly. It sounds like it might be cheaper, but.
Let's assume this task is completed. How is it gonna become a stable area? Or is it gonna continue to degrade?
So what we're looking at is really what happens during an earthquake with the lights. So there was 70 feet in the air and they start shaking around with an earthquake. at the base, the ground's also shaking, and so we're just looking to find the right physical conditions that keep it where it's supposed to be. The ground, as far as I'm not a geologist, so as far as I know, it's not really degrading underground until we go and we mess with it and we put something down there, right? It's been stable for, I don't know, 1,000 years, 10,000 years.
Does it
And we
present
drill-
any significant danger to the public?
That's why we're doing this study, is because in order for us to build this, per the building code, we need this study to make sure that we have the right, those right characteristics identified so that they can then be engineered.
And the timeline to complete this project?
The project or the study? I'm hoping the study is like a month, but they said that they're usually pretty quick on turnaround, but everybody's got a different perception of what pretty quick is.
I was asking about, saying
Yeah.
about the concrete. When will that be, if approved, when will that start?
So I would have to get the study back. Let's say that takes a month from me giving them the go ahead. Then it's got to go to the structural engineer. That could be another month. And then I have to get a cost from the contractor. So we're looking at, probably 8 weeks before I'm able to come back with a quote from the contractor to see what the cost of those additional footings would be for those. And then that way, and then we would then, present
And
that.
the
and figure
sports
out what the-
complex itself, when does it start, construction of building it?
So they've been constructing. We had to take a break for the winter. The pond fills up. It's a stormwater detention pond. We have our little sump pump working and the drains. So as it fills up with water, we're trying to pump it down. They need the ground to dry out a little bit though. So this wet weather, they were getting ready to go back to work, and then we got hit with this storm. So this will put a pause on things while things dry out. But irrigation has already started to be put in. They have to finish that up, and then they really want to figure out what we're going to do with the lights before they consider planting, because we want to go tear up brand new, grass or plants to then come back and dig holes and put in pipes and finish off the conduit. So
One question for Lisa. Once we hire the manager, the rec manager, would that individual be managing the sports complex? Okay. Thank you.
I have a couple. You can go.
Okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
No, I don't have it.
Oh, I thought you did, sorry. Okay, yeah, I would just also highly encourage what my Vice Mayor Johnson said about asking the state if there is room for an extension. Because I know in my research, June 30th, 2028 is the deadline where the complex must be constructed and open to the public for use. And I don't know if I missed part of the conversation, but if they do come back that nothing is really feasible with the results of this project, does that mean that we could still change the layout or the technology that is used out there for the lighting, or what we submitted for the grant has to be adhered to?
the grant just does a lighting. So, again, I don't know what the other technology is besides putting lights on a pole.
Yeah.
Maybe we can fly drones. I don't know. Again, I don't have a good solution, because we've just been trying to kind of chase this one down, which seems to be the most feasible. But yeah, obviously that's not anything's feasible. They're building, skyscrapers in the desert and, all these kind of things. So it just comes down to money, and the engineering is there. It's just a matter of how deep does the pile need to go before we're in good, solid material, or how much concrete needs to be put in the ground. So that's what we're looking at. Again, I don't know if it turns into a spread footing and, that this kind of, big rectangle foundation that they put in the ground. We're just not there yet, because the simplest design is drill a hole, put some rebar in it, and fill it with concrete, and bolt pipe to it. It's just, we need the engineering behind it to make sure that it's going to stay where we put it.
And I know I'm not an engineer, but I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you mentioned, that it is in fact only one lighting pole location. Because I know in the report, it does say seismic settlement. Based on the results of our analysis, soil layers susceptible to liquefaction are present within borings 1 and then 3 through 7.
Yeah, so it's only one that didn't have the liquefaction.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure.
yeah, it was it was boring number 5, so pole number 5
Okay.
didn't have any of that clean wet sand in it. It was suitable material to be able to build.
And then I know on the first page of the scope of services, going back to what our administrator had asked about design profiles. We're not talking about lighting pole designs or which designs, because I know in here it says part of this PhD consultant's task will be the development of design soil profiles. He is to review subsurface soil information and prepare up to 4 design profiles.
Yeah, so that's the information. So those profiles are of the soil, and my guess is because we have these different holes with varying soils, he needs to have 4 different profiles of what that soil looks like. So imagine taking like a little snippet of the ground and he's going to show you what the different frictions and things are at those different locations. So then the structural engineer knows when he's building this foundation, okay, I need to account for this amount of friction here and this amount of friction there. And that's where, making it wider might give us that more surface area, up against the soil to give us the friction that we need so that it doesn't want to settle.
And then just one last comment I wanted to re-up for us to remember. I know when we first approved this contract back in October 2025, council did approve it for $65,037.20, and that was to bore all the holes, so all 7. So what you're asking for us is to increase that from 65, add to 20K. And then overall this is gonna put us further in the red of the unfunded amount from 740,000 to 760,000. Just wanted to.
Yeah, we provided that.
Keep that in the back of our head or back of our mind that this is becoming a little bit more costly than we for sure anticipated.
Yeah, and I want to thank Martine for putting that table together. We didn't provide the table that was in the last report, but it is kind of something so that you guys can track the changes. Because it's not just construction changes, but there's also the design changes, and obviously the number keeps going up, which again is why I started reaching back out to our funding agency to see what our options are. And, if there's a way for us to prolong this, put it into another phase or whatever. The timing of your guys' conversation about a park director is really relevant right now. Prop 4 funding is starting to pick up some momentum, and there was $700 million that California earmarked for parks. Obviously, that's not all coming to small local parks, but it's a good time to have somebody that's really keeping a finger on that pulse, figuring out how we can chase it down. So, and we're hoping again for another phase of the sports complex. We've got property out there. We've got a lot of opportunities to, build things. So if we can, again, if we can figure out a way to lighten the load for Gridley, we will do that the best we can.
One more question. Your motion.
Motion to authorize the city administrator to execute amendment 4 to task order 16-607-402 with Bennett Engineering to include additional geotechnical study for the Sports Lighting Foundation, design in the amount of $20,982.50.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Parr,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes. We move to item number 5. Fencing for 110 Virginia Street.
Mayor and council, here before you, previously, we went out to find out what it would cost to have fencing placed at 110 Virginia. We've had some incidences out there, most recently with fire, and it's severely deteriorating. So since as you are already familiar with, you've directed staff to secure information on fencing to prevent public trespassing. The receivership attorney has contacted staff to request quotes for fencing and requested that the city advance those costs, which could potentially be recovered if the property is sold. There were 2 quotes received for temporary 6-month fencing, both in the amount of $5,040. L&M Fencing out of Rio Linda, and then VSB Systems out of Forest Ranch. The city also received a quote for permanent fencing that the city would own after installation. That would be, the first 2 quotes were for renting a fence and placing it around the area. It would be for 6 months. This other quote was $26,843. That would be for supplies for us installing the fencing. And then afterwards, we would remove that and we could utilize some of the fencing, not all of the material, but some of the material for another city property. Some of the legal cost recovery considerations that you should have is that the temporary fencing is rented. It's going to be charged straight against the property, and we would hope to get reimbursement for. The permanent fencing the city would own. We could try to recover some of the costs for the rental value. However, if it falls outside normal scope of the receivership, it could involve additional legal and departmental considerations for costs. Any reimbursement from the receivership for fencing will depend on the sale proceeds after the receiver certificate loan and associated fees are paid. So the city needs to understand that it could be out of pocket for all fencing costs if after the sale occurs, there is no additional funds left over for reimbursement. If the property is sold, the buyer would require to install the fencing immediately after the close of escrow within council determined reasonable time frame, for example, 5 to 10 days. So right now for your consideration, you have several options that we've outlined. One being moving forward with the temporary fencing. Second would be moving forward with permanent fencing at the cost of $26,000. You run the risk of potentially not being able to recover either, depending on the sale of the property. So could potentially be out of the pocket of the city coffers, or you could delay placing the fencing there to see what the outcome is of the sale of the property. Our city attorney will be providing a verbal update today on the status of that, of those properties.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to do that now. The receiver has a letter of intent on 110 Virginia, which is, a tentative term sheet. And the receiver is, negotiating a hopeful sale of the property now and was reaching out to the receivership attorney to try to get a copy of a proposed compliance agreement. That's basically the city's agreement with the new owner that reflects that they're going to remedy the issues with the property and do it in a timely manner if the sale is, entered into and ultimately approved. So those negotiations are going on now and have been over the last 10 days or so. So it's possible that 110, could have a tentative agreement in the near future for the sale. And then the receiver would then, take that deal to court to have it approved. We would enter into a compliance agreement with the new owner for them to demolish the property in an appropriate time frame and go from there. So it is at least possible that, the property could be, sold and demolished in less than 6 months.
So my question, if you don't mind, Mayor. So are you saying that that's one of our, that's what we're requesting that they do, or that is one of the one of the contingencies, if someone buys that property, that it has to be torn down?
Well, no, so let me say it. And perhaps it doesn't. I'm not a,
Okay, all right.
I'm not a contractor. I'm a lawyer.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
Maybe the building can be salvaged in some form, right? But certainly, part of any sale will involve a compliance agreement that is going to bring the property into an acceptable condition. And, you know, from the city's perspective, whatever that condition is.
And another question, and if you can answer it, that's fine. I know that I kind of know. The property has been listed for sale. Do we know how much the property's been listed for sale? The amount?
I don't know the listing number, nor do I have a number on what the offer is or the.
Okay, and that, I'm not asking that. I'm just,
Negotiated.
what I don't wanna see is the city of Gridley in limbo. With the receivership that isn't, you know, selling the property at a reasonable price. Because no matter what kind of fencing we put out there, we're still gonna have to build. I'd like it to sell and like we all do and it be fixed, but I believe it should be a reasonable price. That's, I mean, that's just my opinion, I guess.
And for what it's worth, the receivership, the actions of the receiver are subject to court approval.
Okay.
So there is a time for the parties to take that up if they think that, you know, what the receiver's doing is unreasonable.
That's what I'm asking.
Not there yet.
Okay.
Is the answer.
Okay.
Vice Mayor. Yeah.
Right?
Go ahead, I'll go up you.
I have an idea for us to entertain. I'm not sure where the city's position would be, but could we consider the purchase of that property? And what would that look like? Because if we're being asked to consider even fencing, and given how really unsafe that area currently is there room for us to consider the purchase of that? Could be a potential new park or a dog park? What type of I'm not sure if you can talk about that now or if it would have to be agendized, but what does that look like for the city? Because if we're being asked to invest in the safety of this, you know, that's already putting us, I don't want to say in the hole, but we're investing in this property as it is.
The answer is that's not agendized tonight and you know, certainly not up for any consideration. But if, you know, if the council is interested in that, that's something that, you know, staff could potentially look at.
My quick question is about the fencing. The purchase fencing is not the panels like the renter is, they're just take it down and store them somewhere. It's actually permanent mount.
Terry, yeah.
Yeah, so that's permanent fencing like the other places that we have around here. And that price is just the fencing. No gates, nothing else. It's strictly 4 corners and 6-foot cyclone fence or chain link. So
For all the posts and.
it's the post, 0 labor, 0 concrete. That's what you're looking at for 26 right now. And the other obviously is construction fence like it's the property's north.
Yeah.
And I think I asked Jerry, if we were to put our own fencing out there, what part of that fencing could we remove and what would have to, you mentioned the posts would not be something we would even be able to.
Yeah, traditionally we pulling concrete posts out, they're not gonna be salvageable. Most of the fence probably should be able to be. So yeah, that's.
Thank you. So my comment would be, with what I've heard tonight from the city attorney, looks like there's a chance that there's gonna be a sale. But I do think we need to. Let me ask the police chief, with the fence around that, is that gonna solve our issues that we're having out there?
It's not gonna solve it, but it would help.
I would think that we're apt to put a temporary. And then when it's sold, then recoup that. Maybe $5,000 or $10,000. At least we can at least put a fence around it. It's. I don't wanna spend this is my opinion. I don't wanna spend 26,000 and then I understand you're gonna have the change, which is probably the least expensive part of that you can keep. So,
And just given the real estate climate, would it be possible to also maybe ask for an additional 6-month quote and what that would look like? Just to have that in the pipeline as well, because let's say the property doesn't sell for 6 months, is this $5,000 amount gonna increase to 10 or 15? You know, if we wait.
I think that's gonna be market driven per se. This is the quote I got. Ironically, they were both the same, but I would say, if cost of materials go up, replacement costs, then, it's gonna go to the renter of any fence. So it's kind of, can you put a 10% extra value on it for future or something? I honestly don't know.
Thank you.
I'm a positive thinker. I think it would be sold.
That's why we put in there the delay, if you wanted to delay and wait to see what happens with the sale. Maybe you want to put a time frame when we would revisit that if we don't see any more movement. Versus spending that money and getting it fenced in right away.
So there's a question for Jerry. So we pull the trigger, how long is it gonna take before they put a fence up?
With either one of these temporary fence people, I would say a week.
Okay.
Depending on how busy they are, it could be a week. If we do permanent, you're talking, I would say, month plus.
Sure.
There's several other factors in that part, so. We have Union Pacific to deal with on the east side with right of ways. We'd have to get it surveyed to know where the corners are, so we're not put in the wrong area.
Logistically, as far as where you have to put that and how long it's gonna be there, assuming, and I look at nickels and dimes, so. We put it up, let's say we put it up for 6 months and we sell it at 3. We have a contract for 6.
I was told they would probate up to the 5-month period. If we have it 5 months and 10 days, then we're gonna still pay the $5,000.
Okay. All right, but that can be negotiated out, I think, if we have to. If the new owner wants to have the temporary fencing or whatever, I don't.
I just wanted to bring to your attention too on some of these, the price does include the delivery, the installation, removal, and the rental period for up to 6 months. And then also it says additional charges may be incurred, excess labor, intensive installation requirements due to challenging terrain or insufficient access. So could potentially change slightly.
But I
They
think,
come across something.
yeah, I think that's.
Just wanted to bring it to your attention.
My opinion is pretty much like the vice mayor saying, I'd rather take the gamble at $5,040. Temporary fencing, hopefully we're gonna sell that in six months. Rather than $27,000. Maybe we'll get something out back and we won't. And at the end of 5 months, if we don't see this is happening, then we renegotiate this fencing thing. That's my opinion.
I'd almost say delay it and bring it back in 30 days. If nothing's moved forward, then look at the fencing. You might be able to avoid it altogether. I'll make that motion if nobody's ready for a motion.
Did everybody, hear that?
Or do you want to repeat it just for the record?
Yeah, well, before you repeat it though, if you don't mind, I'd like to get the police chiefs.
I would say, my opinion is don't delay it. Because there's individuals that go in there constantly. If it deters one person with temporary fencing, I'd be for it.
When it's cold weather, there are more people are looking for places to go build fires.
Go on.
To warm up.
Maybe I didn't want to ask. No.
Well, and I think it's a follow-up question for either the chief or Jerry or our public works director is, are we looking at having someone go out there daily to check that it hasn't been, cut or anything, or what does that look like in terms of routine maintenance?
So as far as routine, make sure the wind don't blow it over, things like that, city staff will be maintaining that.
Do you think that would be daily or what was your goal, like weekly?
Well, since it's right next to our courtyard, I mean, we're gonna see it daily. If something's wrong with it, we're gonna fix it. Or tighten it back up, whatever.
Consent, of anybody, in favor of waiting 30 days? Good idea, but mine would be no.
Sorry. Sorry, retracting.
No motion's been made yet.
Oh, that's true.
Just discussion.
Just discussion. Well, I guess financially, we have those $5,000 available. It wouldn't be a
We'll be hurting.
It would be an investment in public safety.
It will really impact our budget.
Can we make it electric fence?
You're gonna be deciding, why did you guys sign off on it?
Yeah.
So after the last fire, we did fly with a drone. And it is a hazard to the public just in general, aside from the fire hazard, there are objects hanging off of the building, so. Anybody, whether it's the public or fire police personnel that are walking underneath the building could certainly be hit if one of those items decides to give way.
I think, we agree with you 120%, that place is an excellent way to have it. Absolutely. Do I hear a motion to,
So I'll motion that we move forward with the 6-month temporary fencing.
Do you want to just choose? Who do you want to go with?
Sorry?
L&M rental fence or VSB systems? They're both for the same price.
The quicker company.
Would it be L&M just because they do have that contract language here saying additional charges maybe for access labor?
shouldn't that be up to Jerry?
Or Jerry, what's your recommendation?
Well, I say either one. BSB out of Forest Ranch, if this might mean something to some people, they are all veteran owned, veteran families. And I originally reached out to United Rentals because I thought maybe we could get it from them. They said to us that he gave me their phone number, so obviously they gave us a quote for them. L&M, I got them solely because their name is on the slab on the fence that the other building that burned down that was cleaned up. So I got their number, called them. These are the two that responded. The other fence, that number went to a disconnect. So.
The answer is.
Answer will be, I will try VSB first to see if they're the quickest. Give them, I'll try VSB first.
Okay.
If they're the quickest response, the veterans the first choice.
Okay, whatever you can make your best deal.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep.
I like that. That's in my motion.
I'll second his motion.
Motion something that was seconded. Vote please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Councilmember Calderon,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Mayor Park.
Yes. Very good. City council reports.
When I was contacted by behavioral health, it appears that my 3-year commitment with them was up and they requested that maybe if I wanted to return, and I said I would have to, I requested that they save the spot for the city, regardless if I'm going or somebody else. So the meeting is tomorrow. I don't know if the mayor wants me to go back to the committee. But as you remember, Chief Hart actually started going and I ended up picking up the commitment to keep going to the appointment to the meetings.
So your term was 3 years and it's
That is a 3-year commitment. They were at December. I couldn't go to the January meeting because I had the institute in Sacramento. And but this year, this month is tomorrow, and if I go, it would be with the approval of the council.
council have any other recommendations?
No, I would support him or Councilmember Calderon continuing the commitment.
I'm sorry? For Angel and.
The behavioral health.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's unanimous.
So I'll be go tomorrow. I'll go tomorrow.
Would it be 3 more years or would it just be
It's
another
no,
year?
it's in Chico at the behavioral health.
How much, another 3 years?
3 years.
That's fine.
What I got left in my current term. But anyway, the other weekend meeting is coming up, I think it's next week. Next Thursday, I believe. So I'll be going to, unless he wants to send somebody else.
Right on, stay the way it is.
I've got nothing. I had, missed the Red Suspender Day meeting due to an event at the lodge and a big funeral, so.
I know, I don't have anything.
So I attended Mosquito, I didn't attend flood control, because I did attend the funeral for Bobby Fuller, just one of our good friends, city's good friends, and a gentleman that has done a lot for our community and their kids. Sudden passing. So I attended that, and then I did attend mosquito abatement. I can't really find anything exciting. If I missed something while I was there, but basically what we did was, we updated some policies in our policy manual. And then we discussed the mosquitoes that we've been seeing, because of a little bit of kind of spring-like weather. And what can be done, and people were, people call and ask, and it's just not hot enough. You can't spray or fog for mosquitoes in cold weather because the atmosphere is not right. It just falls to the ground and it doesn't work. So we need warmer weather, and that way they can spray at night. They can't spray in the daytime. Other than that, that was the exciting part. Thank you.
No report for me. Thank you.
City administrative report.
Yes, I'm happy to report. I did attend a meeting with PTV representatives. And they notified the city that our outage that we anticipated to have in the spring has been moved to the following year, 2027. That'll give us an additional, it's been postponed, so we have an additional year to work on preparing for that. They will be working with city staff and notifying us in a timely fashion of when that work is ready to go and what the scope of it's going to be.
Does that put that thing in jeopardy, waiting another year to?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know if, Brian, if you have any comment on that, but I think from our discussion, it was just, they wanted to come back and do some changes.
I think
One year.
that there's more there than they thought. And it's kind of gone back to the planning board. So it's been pushed out, to further for engineer and other people to get involved. They mentioned doing some sort of way to bypass the switch in order to test something on there to see if they needed to replace parts, or I believe they said replace the whole thing. So I think there's more there wrong, and even when they were doing the work, it seemed like they were having trouble operating it. So it's pushed it out further for planning, and I think they just don't really know the extent at this time. We're supposed to meet March, April in the field and maybe discuss some other way to bypass the switch to feed the city. It's kind of what I was asking for in order to keep the city in power, why they do their work. But they haven't set a date yet. They just said sometime in the spring, we're supposed to meet out in the field.
Wouldn't you know? Now they're gonna postpone it a year, is that switch? Now, have a chance of failing this year, without, they wanna replace it, but now they wanna wait a year, so.
I think they're not sure. I think things didn't go exactly as planned. And they wanna I think they wanna double make sure before they go and replace something like that they actually have to replace something like that.
Replacement for something like that.
But yeah, it's just, again, it's gonna take time. That's why 2027,
When are you gonna meet with them then?
they haven't set a date yet. Spring, they said March, April, they wanted to set an in-field meeting.
Anybody you can ask that question to? I mean, if that switch is weak, why did they wanna replace it if there wasn't something wrong with it?
Well, I think.
Now they're gonna wait a year.
I think it's the operating of the switch, and maybe it's possibly some of the insulation factors up there. Maybe there's some things that aren't well insulated anymore over the years of sitting. I think operating the switch, it's become not safe. It's not as easy to operate. It's not working properly. So if they were to open an emergency, it might possibly not function the way it's supposed to. I think if they're not operating it, you're probably okay. I mean, I would think.
I mess with the switch.
They're not opening and closing it, it's staying closed, if that's the main cause of the problem, but they mentioned testing, so there could be other insulating factors up there that maybe they're deteriorating, maybe they need to be changed. I'm not really sure. I've never worked on a switch like that.
We do love PG&E.
Yeah, they're.
With that, we probably need to make some plans ourselves to really look at our system. And see if there's any other backup method that the city should have. And we'll be working with Ryan and probably engineering and having those discussions ourselves internally.
And I'm gonna make one comment here. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but years ago. Probably 2006 or 7, we were actually looking at running lines from here to our sewer treatment plant. And the cost was about $500,000 then. I don't know if that would have helped us out.
I think, I've heard of one other plan I actually saw someone wrote it on a piece of paper. I found it in a filing cabinet, is running lines from here to Biggs. Is something that I did see, and it was somewhere around that price. Now it's not, but that's still not the worst thing to work towards. That would be an additional backup to the city. As of right now, we have no backup. They have a similar switch off 99, but maybe that one's had more maintenance, maybe they've done more to that. I'm not really sure. I want to say the way Biggs is fed, the switch is actually Biggs's switch. And then off of 99, it's just wires coming off. And what the difference is at ours, we actually have an open flow switch feeding ours. So I think the switch in Biggs is Biggs's responsibility, not PG&E's. So yeah. But running out to the sewer plant, that wouldn't really it's still PG&E. I mean, even if we just bypass the switch itself, put another pole, you know, adjacent and fed it around the switch while they did the work. I mean, that would be the easiest solution. I mean, obviously it's a little more work, but you then have as much time as you need to do what you need to do.
Isn't that called common sense?
Yeah, they had, their concerns were who owns the property around it? Well, we own the property around it, and so does the fairgrounds, and they're already on the fairgrounds. But I guess that would be part of our the field meeting, discussing an option like that.
Yeah, they're gonna you set the pole up something.
Yeah. It just saves us from buying a generator.
I agree.
Yeah.
Permanent generators.
Any more from the city administrator?
Yeah, and then I did attend the city managers, League of Cities meeting. That was very interesting. There was a lot of information we were provided. It was really I sat in a meeting for rural cities and listened to other cities of our size and specifically having the same challenges that we have. So there was a lot of information provided there and a lot of contacts that were made for us to kind of bounce ideas off each other. There was a huge support of in-house, kind of building your in-house succession planning with the staffing levels that you have, building those homegrown employees that will move into those additional positions that are higher, maybe providing programs and kind of homegrown programs for your own staffing. And I think we've already been doing that as a city. So I think we're doing quite well. A lot of the solutions that were mentioned that other cities are doing, cost sharing, we're already doing that. So I felt really good about where the city's going and our projection and then our staffing. We have great city employees and that are willing to pick up and learn, spend their own time to learn programs and get certified. And there's an eagerness there. And we have a young, progressive group that I think is ready to take on those challenges. So I'm excited for Gridley. I think we have a lot of potential. And I think we're on the right path. So it was very positive for me to attend that.
Okay, department updates.
Just briefly, Mayor, I already updated the council on 110 Virginia, 390. There's no real substantive update. Receivership Council continues to work towards the service issue on 390. Reminder that they couldn't get the owner served. The court gave them time to do that. It's going to have to be done by way of an alternative means. They continue to move forward with that, but no other substantive update.
So they can't find the owners of 390? That would.
Well, he lives in Portugal.
They found him, but he's
Yeah.
at world away.
Never been there.
Okay, now we'll move to department updates.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Members of the Swiftwater Rescue Team here in Gridley attended an interagency rescue, water rescue drill at View Creek. During this drill, our personnel trained with members of Chico Fire Department and Butte County Search and Rescue. Our Captain Mattos here at Station 74 has taught 2 Swiftwater rescue classes at 57 East Gridley Road. And then as mentioned, we had another fire at 110 Virginia. It was a relatively small fire with a lot of potential. Crews were able to confine the fire before it became a larger incident. This success was the result of ongoing pre-planning by our local Gridley firefighters and cooperative fire protection. Following the fire, as mentioned again, we did fly with a drone in an effort to continue to pre-plan that facility and assess the hazard. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thanks, Chief.
Mayor and council, not much to report, but I wanted to let you guys know our motor officer is finally up and running. So if you see him driving around town pulling people over, he is finally up and running. Also, police department attended the upcoming, a few months away, Red Suspenders Day Parade with the chamber. But other than that, that's about it. And I'm open to questions if anybody has any. Thank you.
Good job, thanks, Steve.
Mayor, council. Couple quick updates. I also attended the Red Suspenders kind of kickoff meeting, getting everything going for our parade, just kind of same as usual, trying to make sure we get everything. I's dotted, T's crossed. So we did that. Softball field, both dugouts, new roofs.
Oh, good.
So that's completed. On the, there was that issue with the announcer's booth. Went ahead and overlaid the floor that the holes were in there. And that gives us the season that it's functional, it's usable. We can regroup after the season. Start figuring out what we want to do, get some concrete poured and maybe a new building or the lean-to like we've talked about. Did that, and on the snack bar, I did meet with Levi, Big Heating and Air. He came over. There's a couple parts he's waiting for, and of course the weather as well, before we get the air conditioner installed. Hopefully within, I'd like to say next week, but you know. So it's still ongoing. Electric department, they came over and helped us out. There was a bunch of branches over the snack bar, over the rec department, and kind of the grandstands, announcer booth there. Got all that trimmed up for the season. So that's ready to go. And Mr. Dahl reached out to us, I guess, on the backside of the Lions Den. Something had been eating a hole in the back door. You know, he went over there and fixed that for him as well. Just put some kick plates on the bottom. That and then our regular stuff around town, trying to keep potholes as manageable as possible. The street signs, pruning, kind of our everyday stuff. Any questions?
Any questions?
Question, any update, this might be more for city administrator, but is there any updates? I know obviously there's progress on the Highway 99 sidewalk construction. Is there anything else that you could highlight for us, or it's just in progress?
One quick
I know these those 2 day worky too.
They are doing mostly all day work now. Originally it was because of the fog. But I think with Dustin Watts, he's the Caltrans, not foreman, but manager over that. I think he's kind of reined everything in. So they're doing sections now more. I think you've probably seen, 7-Eleven a week, they were done with that section instead of just stretching everything out. So, that's kind of a positive, trying to get access to, business and everything quicker. With the rain, they were going back, filling up the planters now with topsoil and such. So the rain's kind of stopped that as well. But
I do just want to note though, I was driving about 2 days ago, or it was like over the last week, where it had rained a lot, and now with the reconstruction there, I know the entrance between Little Caesar and Burger King, because it's such a deep pocket now, there was a decent amount of like flood water there, or rainwater. So I just wanted to flag that, because before that wasn't in existence, before the construction.
yeah,
But I did notice that.
that'll be brought up in our next meeting that we have with them to let them know. That'd be something that Caltrans needs to get with the contractor and remedy the situation.
And then what about, I know that they have gone back in as well and repaved the little area that they left between the sidewalk or the gutter and the actual highway.
Yeah.
Does that seem like it's fairly even to you? I know there's been some deviations, like if you're really looking at it closely, but is there any concerns with how they went back in to fill that gap?
So that's actually still temporary.
Oh, okay.
When they're completely done with the project, and Dave might know, but I believe they're gonna do like a 2 or 3 inch grind at those lips and so many feet out, and that whole thing will be getting overlaid.
Yeah, the entire street, the entire highway's getting grinding over.
On that side or both sides?
Both sides.
Both sides.
Entire highway.
Yeah.
Wow.
All the way to
Liberty to Pass Forward.
Oh,
And it needs it too.
Exciting.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Good catch.
Yeah.
That's what
That was the original project, was to just pave through town, and it's called a shop project. It's for highway maintenance. And then we've been pushing for 20 years to get a sidewalk, so we kept pushing and we got a sidewalk.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and take that as opportunity to jump up there. So since we're speaking about roads, also with the highway, so one of our best champions for getting funding in the area is Yvonne Garcia up at BCAG. He was on leave and he came back and he asked for an update. And so I sent him an email and it started a conversation about the sidewalk in front of the Moose Lodge. It's the one little piece of sidewalk that is missing out of both the projects. So we put together a little description and an exhibit, and we sent it off to him, and he has worked some magic, and it's not official, but Caltrans is looking in a couple of years about coming in and adding that as a small shop project for again, Caltrans doing it. It's not official, but we're working with the Moose Lodge to make sure that there's right of way there for them to do that. Additionally, he brought up that BCAG has a call for projects for CMAQ funding. That's a congestion mitigation air quality grant. And so it really focuses on reducing vehicles traveling and converting them to walking. Some of the projects that we've been talking about with Fairview and East Ridley Road, the schools and some of those gap closures. So we're going to pursue some of those as far as design funding so that the CMAQ can fund the design. It won't necessarily fund the construction, but if we can get it shovel ready, then we're on our way to potentially an active transportation grant. Butte County Department of Public Health has worked on active transportation grants. The next cycle doesn't come out until 2027. So we're in that like pre-NOFA timeframe. So we're starting conversations with them to see what they can do to help us pursue grant funding again for sidewalk. We have another project. You guys may remember it was like the Central Gridley Connectivity Project. It was on Magnolia and Sycamore. And so it was curb ramps and crosswalks and some sidewalk improvements there for ADA. So that one's shovel ready. So when ATP does come around, we'll be looking, to sit and hopefully multiple applications. They are competitive. So, now that we've gone through the safety action plan with the county, they've done the Safe Streets for All walk audit. We have our local road safety plan. We now have all the pieces needed to be more competitive for those. So that's the update for
on the south end of 99, when is the lighting coming up?
I don't know.
We haven't even talked about front lights in yet.
No lighting?
The bases are in, right?
Well, yeah, the bases are in, but there's no wire in the ground. I'm still in talks with them about what wire is gonna go in, so they haven't even.
That was part of the plan, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The conduits.
As long as it-
wire's not.
father's there, yeah, no wire in the ground though.
It's a beautiful sidewalk. I love it.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My main update was taken, but needs an email, that's all right. If you have any more questions about the H&E, I think we pretty much covered most of it. Besides the fact that we requested if and when they pick an outage that we picked for fall, spring, somewhere around there where it's mild temperatures. Other than that, the 99 lighting, yeah, they have all the bases poured. They haven't installed any wire, any lights, or requested us to install any transformers. So I'm not sure when their plan is for that. They still got a couple sidewalk pieces to pour, at least around some of the electrical infrastructure, which I think is probably another month before they pour around one of the boxes they need to. So I'm not really sure the timeline on the lighting.
I also saw some plans for landscaping in that area, also some trees and I don't know what else, but the plants look great. I don't and the sidewalk looks great. I just wondering, you know, the timeline on the lighting is.
Hopefully soon. I want it all to be over.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
Okay.
So their big push right now is getting the culvert crossings completed for the irrigation districts, the irrigation crossings. So we have that sidewalk there. They need to do that before the irrigation season starts.
Because the down end of 99 needs the lighting more than the north part.
It'll all get lighting, but yeah, their main focus right now is trying to get those sidewalks.
That's
all I have.
Thank you.
Mayor Maine, Mayor Councilors, so no real big updates. Everything continues to move forward and it's a good thing, you know, thing blowing up in our face, but no big milestones being hit either. So the big projects, Pacific Flyway, Work Review, there's some things going on that they need to get done for continue their financial. Sometimes it's breaking ground, making sure that they hit milestones at a certain time, or sometimes it's addressing. So we have some of that stuff being shored up. Outside of that, there's a few houses that are coming in. So on Bridgeford, there's a dwelling that's getting close to being finalized. That same applicant also has another one starting up off on California, 185 California. There's also over here on the dental, previously a dentist office. There's a tentative parcel map. So that dentist office will be split off. It'll be a commercial lot all by itself. The two dwellings that are there, he's doing some retrofitting, selling that commercial parcel, fund that retrofitting, so upgrading the neighborhood is nice. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot exciting to talk about, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Not much. I just want to report that the audit, I know last meeting, I believe I said we would have it ready this meeting, but it's looking more like next meeting. Ran into some minor discrepancies, nothing too major, so we should have it ready for your review next council meeting on March 2nd. The good news is that all the other audits are complete. And they have already been signed off on. We do have a surcharge audit as well that we're going through, and that one is pretty much complete too. It's just getting up with the managers over at the state to review, to get the final review. On the recreation side, nothing major to report, no complaints on basketball, everything's running pretty smooth, so that's good. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. No more reports, so we will now move into closed session.